So let's think about a situation where a person has worked throughout his life or has worked throughout his whole career and has no any hesitation. This question is very important for me because from the beginning I understood that not hesitating or the courage is the key to success. So let's go back and see the situation where you have, for example, for yourself, asked a question and you imagine that you cannot get the answer. So you have this hesitation to ask. This can be very, very simple question. So for me was the beginning like this. So I had this hesitation all the time, but I started to beat it. And in the beginning, when in 2006, I started this business, so the IMR is a marketing research agency, one of the biggest one now. But at that time, it was a very, very small and tiny one. But I have that courage to ask one of my friends to step in and ask me to go for this job. But in the beginning, it was completely different. So he was a smart one, and he was assigned for this job. And I was just married, just graduated from AUA, and I urgently needed this job. But I didn't hesitate, and I asked him to go and work there. So what you imagine, what was my first job there? I was just an enumerator there. I was just counting the questionnaires and putting numbers there. And at that time, I said, okay, that's fine. There's just $25 salary per month. I'm okay with this. This is a starting job. And I didn't hesitate, and I asked for the job, and I worked for about a couple of months. And fortunately, luck was on my side. And after 3 months, my friend stepped aside. He said, come on, guys, this is not for me. I'm more back office guy. I don't want to work there. So again, I didn't hesitate, and I asked him to write an email to the founders and ask them me to assign as a director. Of course, surprisingly, they were agree because there was no one here. It was a Georgian company, actually, that was doing this business. So, of course, it was a one-man show at that time. So I was a director, I was an interviewer, I was like a strategist, analyst. Of course, my wife was helping me and a couple of friends. But starting from that point, I understood that hesitation is not helping you at all. So you need to be bold, you need to be brave, and you need to ask these questions. Very simple ones. You can get these questions, and what is the worst scenario in this case? You can get no. But when you get yes, this yes brings you to a whole new road. So during this whole time, I understood that asking questions is completely fine, and getting no's is also completely fine. But again, when you get yes, this yes can bring you to a very, very long road and to lots of, success stories that we have throughout our lifetime. Afterwards, so time passes, and of course, IMR grew, and it was already kind of a period where the company was the leading company. I had profit. I have fulfilled all my kind of career goals. We went even abroad, so we did projects in Georgia, Russia, etc. So there was this kind of a mid-age crisis when you face at like 35, 36. So there's a saying, right? So either you have a Tesla, or you have a lover, or you get something, a crazy thing. So I had a Tesla, it didn't help. I didn't have, unfortunately or fortunately, lover. And so what I did, I went to a really crazy thing. I decided to go for an Ironman. So this was another crazy story for me because I had serious health issues throughout my life. There were even periods where I even couldn't really walk. So like my father was taking me to school on his hands. So at that time, thinking of an Ironman was a completely crazy thing. But again, it was the courage and not hesitation that I went for it, and I assigned for these trainings. Of course, in the beginning, it was really crazy, and during the small courses that I took, I did everything, and it was canceled because of COVID. So I said, that's cool, this is a sign, let's forget about Ironman. However, I have already paid like 800 USD or something like that. So after a year, I was already like with the big belly and not training at all. It was time I got an email that now you're deferred to a completely different race, which is 10 times harder than the one, because the one we chose was in California, like vineyard, nice race, just like slow pace and stuff like that. And this was in Idaho, like the hardest races in Ironman history. There is only 2,000 meters elevation for the bike. So I said, okay, that's fine. Let's write an email. So sorry, guys, I'm out of this. But the community that I was training, the Tri Club, and also the Vahak, the one who is this sensei who is leading us, he said, "Come on, you can do it." But there was only 1 month that we could do. We could like train. And just to mention, it's the first time in my life that I have swimmed like 4 kilometers. I have ever swim, and especially in open water. So during this 1 month, we have trained. I've swum like 2, 3 times this 4 kilometer. I did several races in Aragat, like this 180. But running was, again, something crazy for me with these back pains and everything else, especially 42, that just a single, I have done just 21 kilometers in my life ever. But doing this back to back was like completely crazy for me. So we went to US, let's be short. So it was first race after COVID, and the Armenian team was just six. And of course, I was the last in Armenian team, but I finished. The main thing is it was the hardest race even throughout the history. It was like 42-degree heat, this elevation, so everything was against odds. And I had this feeling all the time during the bike, saying, please, God, send some sign. Just, I want to break my leg. I want to fall. I want lightning on my head. Just, I will not stop myself, but I want some external forces to help me to stop. And it was really crazy. It's like horror movie. You see people on your side falling, crying, and you don't stop. You don't. It's like Hunger. That's how is it? Survivor games or something like that. And once I finished, the swimming was fine, bike was okay. Not okay, it was over my last strength. So I was crying, really. At that time, I understood that crying is a perfect solution, guys. Once you feel really, really bad, cry. It helps perfectly. So when I came for changing my clothes after bike, I saw my wife and she was like terrified. What's going on? Come on, stop it. We don't need this. And I just lay down. This time was like really crazy at that time. So I just changed and I started to walk. But at that time I was feeling, come on, there is still 42 kilometers to walk, run, crawl, whatever you imagine. So eventually, after like 20 kilometers, I had some pills, I don't know, food. There's like lots of food stations. After a time, so I got better, and I saw, oh, come on, I can even run. So I started to run, and there were like normal people running with me. But eventually, eventually it came the last race. So it's like movie. You are like an Oscar winner. It's like lots of marketing involved there. So they prepared this last 1 kilometers. Like everyone is cheering. And why I decided to take off my shirt, kind of be the Rambo guy and running. And just one of these old guys approached me, said, bro, take it off because now, take it on because now you will be disqualified because of nudity. So I don't remember how fast I put on my shirt. So I got the flag. And finally, I've heard this, Petros Petoyan, you are an Iron Man. So this was really crazy. But this was not the end. So it came 2020. We were sitting together in one cafe, our friend's cafe, and we were talking about all this stuff. So I got acquainted with Mariam, and we get really good friends. And eventually one day, maybe she didn't hesitate to ask me, will you work, are you doing research and stuff like that? So we got acquainted with the mayor, and we started to work together. We finished, he was elected, everyone is happy, I'm happy, and that's it. And one day I got a call from him saying, come over to the city hall. I said, okay, great. I had my shorts and all like t-shirts and went there, maybe thinking of about a new research or something like that. And he asked me just this bold and straight question, do you want to become head of center district? I just coughed and laughed, said, no, of course. So this no, this no in the evening with maybe 10 bottles of wine became yes, because like there were these two sides of my circle, like my wife and very close friends who were really against of this decision. Even it's very funny. There are people here sitting that I met during these days and we had this very strange talks. Come on, are you crazy? Of course not. Go ahead, it's perfect, stuff like that. So eventually it again came this idea of mine that I had this feeling that I want this, really. I knew that I want, but I had this hesitation to agree and fear and all the negative things that one can have facing this kind of facing this kind of change in his life. But eventually I said, okay, I will do this. Of course, I had a huge list about my travels, about my outfit, about these socks, colorful and stuff like that. Of course, Mayor, like we kind of got to the point that I agreed, and it's already past 2 months, 2 years. Now on 4th of May, it will be 2 years that I'm on this position. Thinking about these two parts of my life, private sector and public sector, I got all the time this question that, what you think? What is the difference between private and public sector service? So my answer is very simple. There is no any difference. There is just a matter of scale. Once you are in a private sector, you're dealing with your employees, with your staff, with your clients. In public sector, you're dealing with the public, but here in private sector, you're mainly working for your own well-being and for your own commonwealth. In public sector, you're working for the public's and society's commonwealth, which is absolutely new level for me. And seeing these like small achievements and satisfactory faces all around, especially now, is really crazy now, and it gives lots of dopamine and lots of satisfaction and motivation to go further. So at this point, however, the first part was really, really crazy. So me, a guy in a private sector where you have only like 40 absolutely gorgeous ladies working with you and one of them is sitting there. Like you have all these nice dinners and events, and then you get to a Tarapetaran where you have all these, and everyone was saying me, you don't imagine what you will see. There are people wearing all these crocodile leather shoes and stuff like that. So the first day I went, it was absolutely like this. And me again wearing these colorful socks. This is a game changer, I think. So now everyone is used to these socks and all the outfits that I have. And of course, we're laughing, but I hope that this small change in their lives really brought some new place for them, because they didn't used to be treated or motivated or saying, oh, good job. So even a simple word or a phrase saying like good job was an absolute miracle for them. Now it's just a normal thing that we do every day. What now I understand, the first point when I felt that hesitation is the worst thing that you can do to yourself, brought me to this place where I got 100% of satisfaction. It's the hardest job I can ever imagine, because in the past I was always waking up at, I don't know, 1 p.m., going to the cafes, then gyms, and then just going to work, several calls, and that's it. Now I really work 24/7. It's not the typical work that everyone imagines. I'm still in ground zero. I still go to gym, I travel, but I'm like on 24/7, and it's really hard to turn off my mind. But I got all this time, this small results that keeps me moving forward. And in the beginning, my friend, one of my friends or close friends just told me a very key thing to go smoothly on this path, which was focus on low-hanging fruits. This is like crazy thing, guys. Once you are in a sphere where you are completely new, focus on low-hanging fruits, because these are really reachable and you can reach them and you can get a very, very fast results. Afterwards, fruits go up, your desires go up, and all the results that you were getting and the satisfaction you were getting from these low fruits get bigger and bigger. And maybe last thing that I want to mention in this period was the ideas and execution. So I'm a guy who is more into execution. So I understood that ideas can lead to a result. Ideas cannot lead actually to result, but execution can really bring to a result. So there is just small story about these ideas. For example, these Sarian steps that we see that are covered with tiles, there were like many people who had this idea of doing this. Like many thought, oh, this was my idea. No, this was my idea. Of course, this was your. But guys, who executed this? And after that, I understood that ideas can be like tremendous amount of ideas, but who will execute this and who will lead this team, or who will delegate this team or a person or I don't know, a company that donate money is completely different. So please do not hesitate and go for execution. Thank you very much for this attention. Hope to see a lot of new results together.